Future Trunks is arguably the most iconic slash charismatic character from the Dragon Ball franchise. Well, at least when he first was introduced. We can debate that if you disagree. When viewers were first introduced to him, it was something new and unique, like when we saw Lord Frieza's final transformation for the first time. But enough about his good looks and blue hair like his mother. Here I'm going to do a deep dive in his backstory on how he lost a lot, but gained from going to a timeline where the Z Warriors are alive. A second chance on getting the help that he needs. This channel is called Analyzing the Media, where we break down iconic media content to give you a different perspective on characters. Take a ride with me on this awesome character's life story, but I have to ask, why did Bulma do him like that? She picked the meanest, coldest, and darkest character to be his dad. How tragic. The tragic life of Future Trunks, a world of loss and survival. In the alternate timeline of Dragon Ball Z, the world of Future Trunks is one of devastation, despair, and unbearable loss. The heroic Z Warriors are gone, leaving Earth defenseless against a seemingly unstoppable force, the androids, 17 and 18. What follows is a heart-wrenching tale of survival, sacrifice, and the crushing weight of carrying the hopes of a broken world on one's shoulders. This is the life of Future Trunks, a boy who grew up too soon, shaped by war, and ultimately transformed by unimaginable grief, watching his master die, left alone with the sole responsibility to fight against evil. Where were the Kais? Where were the gods of destruction to help him fight against Earth's threat? Bulma could have built a device to contact the Namex, or fly to them like she did with Krillin and Gohan. A world without hope. Imagine being born into a world where hope no longer exists. For Trunks, this was his reality from the moment he became conscious about his life and reality. He grew up hearing stories of the past, of heroes like Son Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and the others who had protected Earth time and again from powerful foes. But those were only stories. By the time Trunks was a child, the Z Warriors were long gone. They had been wiped out by the androids, two mechanical monsters who took sadistic pleasure in destroying everything and everyone in their path. The cities were in ruins, the people were either dead or hiding, and humanity lived in constant fear. There were no Dragon Balls to wish things back to normal, only the cold, hard reality of survival. A mother's burden. Trunks' mother, Bulma, was one of the last remnants of that old world, a brilliant scientist who fought not with her fists, but with her intellect. She kept Trunks hidden, far from the chaos, teaching him everything she knew about technology and survival, but no amount of knowledge could prepare him for the emotional weight of this reality. Bulma bore her own heavy burden, having lost her friends, her home, and her husband Vegeta. She never spoke much about how he died, only that he fought bravely against the androids, refusing to back down even in the face of certain death. Trunks would often wonder what it would have been like to know his father, to have his guidance. But all he had were secondhand stories from his mother, and even she couldn't hide the sadness in her eyes when she talked about the man who was no longer there. The androids' reign of terror. The androids were relentless. They didn't just kill, they played with their victims, laughing as they turned cities into ash and reduced families to rubble. They weren't driven by the same desires or ambitions as the villains of the past. They didn't want to rule the earth or conquer the universe. No, they destroyed simply because they could, for fun. For Trunks, watching the news reports of yet another city annihilated was a regular occurrence. He would hear about the androids' attacks, and deep down, a growing rage began to take root. But more than rage, it was helplessness. He was too young, too weak to do anything about it. The androids were untouchable, and the world was at their mercy. And then came Gohan, the last Z Warrior. Gohan was the last surviving Z Warrior, the son of Goku and Trunks' mentor. He had witnessed the death of all his friends, his father, Piccolo, Vegeta, and everyone else who had fought to protect Earth. Despite his own heartbreak, Gohan took it upon himself to protect what was left of the world, but even he was barely able to keep up with the androids. He was outnumbered, and every battle took a toll. But Gohan saw potential in Trunks. He recognized the Saiyan blood running through the boy's veins. Even though Trunks was still young, Gohan knew that with training, he could become strong enough to stand against the androids. So Gohan took Trunks under his wing, becoming not only his teacher, but a father figure. For the first time, Trunks had someone to look up to, someone who believed in him. The two would train together day after day, Gohan pushing Trunks to his limits, teaching him how to fight, how to channel his energy, and most importantly, how to survive. but no amount of training could prepare Trunks for the harsh realities of the battlefield. A world without mercy. One fateful day, Gohan and Trunks found themselves in the middle of yet another android attack. The two fought side by side, but the difference in power was staggering. Gohan was severely injured, losing the use of one arm in the process. But even in his weakened state, he fought with everything he had. For Gohan, it wasn't just about survival, it was about protecting Trunks, about giving him a future, which he did relentlessly. The androids, however, showed no mercy. Gohan pushed Trunks to flee, to escape and fight another day. But Trunks, desperate to help, wanted to stay by Gohan's side. He wasn't strong enough yet, but he couldn't bear the thought of leaving Gohan to face the androids alone. Yet Gohan knocked him out cold, knowing Trunks was not yet ready to face this kind of threat. When Trunks awoke, the battlefield was silent. He searched through the ruins, calling out for Gohan anguishedly, hoping against hope that his mentor had survived. But what he found shattered his heart, mind, and spirit. Gohan's lifeless body lay there in the rain, a symbol of Earth's final hope snuffed out. Trunks' heart rate was thumping, tears ran down his face, and he was angry. The Super Saiyan awakening. In that moment, something inside Trunks broke. The grief, the anger, the helplessness, it all came crashing down on him. Gohan was gone, just like his father and all the other Z warriors. He had lost his mentor, his only friend, the one person who had believed in him. And for what? To a world that seemed intent on breaking him at every turn. But from that grief, something else stirred within him. Trunks' sorrow and rage triggered a transformation that had long eluded him. He became a Super Saiyan. The golden aura flared around him, his power surging like never before. But this wasn't a victory. This wasn't a triumph. It was the result of unbearable loss. Trunks had achieved what his father, Vegeta, had once strived for, a level of power that few Saiyans could reach, but it came at the highest possible cost. A lonely fight. Now, Trunks was alone. He was the last offender of Earth, a boy forced to become a man far too soon. Every day was a battle for survival. He fought the androids whenever he could, but even with his newfound strength, he was still no match for them. They were stronger, faster, and more ruthless than he could have imagined. Yet Trunks didn't give up. He couldn't, for the sake of his mother, for the memory of Gohan, and for all those who had fallen. He kept fighting. He trained harder than ever, pushing his limits, determined to grow stronger. But it wasn't just the androids that weighed on him. The constant death and destruction chipped away at his soul. Every time he saw another city destroyed, another family torn apart, it reminded him of what he had lost and what he could never bring back. The time machine and one last hope. Years passed, and Bulma, ever the brilliant scientist, developed a time machine, a way to send Trunks back to the past, to a time before the androids had taken over, and it was a desperate plan, one that hinged on finding Goku and warning him of the future threat. If they could change the past, maybe, just maybe, the future could be saved. For Trunks, this was a bittersweet moment. He would be leaving behind the only world he had ever known, a world filled with pain and loss. But he also knew that his journey to the past was the last hope for a better future. Maybe he couldn't bring Gohan back, but he could make sure that no one else had to suffer the way he did. As he stepped into the time machine, Trunks looked out over the ruined landscape one last time. He was leaving a world broken beyond repair, but he carried with him the strength and the memory of everyone who had fallen. In the end, Trunks wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for a future that he might never see. Conclusion: a hero born from tragedy. The life of future Trunks is a tragic story of loss and resilience. He was forced to grow up in a world where the heroes had fallen, where hope seemed like a distant memory. The death of his mentor Gohan was the final blow that pushed him to achieve the power of a Super Saiyan, but it came at the highest emotional cost. Yet despite the unimaginable hardships, Trunks never gave up. He carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, fueled by the memory of those he had lost and the hope of preventing such a future from ever happening again. He is a symbol of determination, a hero forged in the fires of despair, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is still the strength to keep fighting. Trunks' journey was not just about becoming stronger physically, it was about overcoming the emotional toll of a world without hope, and in doing so, becoming a true warrior.
I don't understand you, Father. You've withdrawn into the shadows ever since Goku's been gone, and now suddenly here you are defending us.